Hello, everyone, and welcome to EyeSee's fourth webinar on consumer behavior in a global crisis. Today's topic is online behavior, what is different, and how to test it. Thank you for taking the time to join us. We're convinced that you'll come away with some useful learnings and insights on e-commerce in these changing times. And we're planning for today's webinar to run about 30 minutes. My name is Jonathan Asher. I'm the Executive Vice President of EyeSee, and today I have a wonderful guest with me, Mila Milosavljevic. She is the Senior Insights Manager in the digital team at EyeSee and a brilliant researcher who I'm delighted to have share her thoughts today. Welcome, and thanks for being here, Mila.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's really good to be here and share some fresh insights. And thanks for that nice introduction.
Today, we will start by covering findings from our tracking study about recent shifts in online shopping generally. Then we will move on to specific behavioral changes in e-commerce that we've documented since the crisis began, ending with a practical guide for setting up your e-commerce studies so as to fully capitalize on these marketplace shifts. While e-commerce has been growing steadily for many years, even for CPG, current conditions have certainly accelerated its adoption, as even those who never or only rarely shopped online have found it to be a critical alternative to visiting stores in person. It remains to be seen if this level of usage will be sustained. Will people who have now experienced the convenience continue to use it? Or will some frustrations that they've been experiencing about online navigation, out of stocks, or delayed delivery frustrate them to the point that they revert back to brick and mortar? For now, we're seeing a definite pattern of increased online shopping, and that was just over a 2-week period in March. With this increase in online shopping, many marketers are recognizing the need to optimize their approach to e-commerce. As well they should, given the many missed opportunities. We've seen evidence that shoppers struggle to find products they seek, and when they're browsing, products are not seen at all, and ads that have been fully funded go completely unnoticed. EyeSee has a long track record of delivering studies on e-commerce that go beyond simple user experience and employ different behavioral methods to assess the performance of marketing assets related to e-commerce. It's worth pointing out that we received the Best Global Market Research Project Award at last year's Quirk's Marketing Research Conference for the work we did with Microsoft. The study was the most extensive behavioral e-commerce insight study in the world, with more than 4,000 online shoppers and more than 900 eye tracking sessions in 10 countries. Mila, you worked on that study. Can you tell us a bit more about the unique approach we used?
Sure, the study was a very exciting challenge. I would say that combination of explicit and implicit methods used to test in context played the biggest role here. So basically what we do is develop the right combination of methods for your research question, such as using navigation tasks to see how quickly do respondents find the items they're after. And this enables us to develop several paths they most commonly use to do that. We do eye and click tracking, so we can tell precisely which elements attract attention, which elements on the page were useful, which were just missed in plain sight. And in the end, we measure purchase intent and use surveys to get more insight into the process afterwards. The thing with e-commerce testing is that compared to other consumer insights areas, it is a bit underutilized, which is actually in stark contrast with how quickly e-commerce itself is developing. And because there are so many aspects to it, it can be hard to choose the right questions, and clients often end up trying to test everything at the same time and get low impact results due to this lack of focus. We will cover some of these during our conversation today, and we will also get to see how our findings from before the crisis replicate today.
Yes, Mila, that's a crucial topic, comparing the current results against some benchmarks and validating the methods we are using, as many clients are wary of investing in research during this very unpredictable time. So let's dive into the study you just conducted. Please tell us a bit more about the background and what the results are showing.
Sure. So this study served us both as a way of feeling the pulse of online shoppers during the crisis and as a replication study of the methods we use in e-commerce testing. As people have embraced social distancing to slow the spread of pandemic, there has naturally been a drop-off in brick-and-mortar shopping, and consequently, this accelerated shoppers' transition to online retailers. In the process of adapting to this challenging and uncertain situation, people's behavior changed in many aspects, including shopping patterns. We witnessed the panic buying, stocking up household essentials, focusing on some product categories that weren't that present in regular purchases like hand sanitizers, disinfectants, and similar. Our repeated study aimed to determine whether shoppers' browsing behavior has really changed during this pandemic and in what way. Initially, in the pre-COVID-19 study, we made sure to cover different decision strategies across two key retailers in the US, Amazon and Walmart. We've also included non-food and food categories, and to break it down even further, some of the categories were more impulsive, like chocolate, and some more habitual, like cereals and coffee. Fortunately, we included cleaning products, even though we didn't realize last June how important they become in March of 2020. Here you can see our study design and what our sample looked like. We recruited 500 respondents and split them into two cells, with each cell exposed to one retailer and four categories. And they completed the test, which consisted of 2 eye tracking and 2 click tasks, which served to determine which products participants considered and what elements of product pages they found useful.
Well, that looks like a very ambitious study. I bet it revealed some very meaningful insights.
So let me just start off by saying that there are some universal patterns and rules when it comes to browsing retailer websites. And we found them again in this repeated study, which shows a certain reliability of the method, while still staying sensitive enough for picking up changes in behavior during this crisis. So one of these rules is that positioning is crucial for product noticeability, and it still is, as items placed in one of the top 10 positions on PLP had significantly higher chance to be noticed in this study. This excellent visibility of the products on the top of the page is followed by higher consideration, because shoppers are more likely to show interest toward the products that they can see and that they are placed nearing the top of the list. And also, as a rule of thumb, the middle columns of the PLP perform better in terms of visibility than the lateral ones when we have a grid layout. Overall, we could say that simpler PLP layout, one that is showcasing fewer products per page with clear organization, ensures that the greater portion of content will be seen and explored. Now, as far as our repeated study goes, there are 3 main things we will discuss today. A longer exploration of PLPs, then how the learning about the product has changed when shoppers are on the product detail page, and the fact that the basket size stayed the same, but contents have changed. The most significant change in the way respondents behaved was in the time shoppers spent on the retailer's product list. It is substantially longer, from half a minute on average to almost 50 seconds. And not only is the exploration of product lists prolonged, but the average time spent per product is also higher, 0.17 seconds more or 11% longer.
Wow, that's quite a big change. It's interesting to note that this is similar to our social media study results, that people spent more time exploring the social media feeds and were more attentive. But how does that impact the shopping KPIs?
With an extended browsing time comes higher visibility of PLPs. There's a significant increase in the number of noticed products. Shoppers saw 36% more products than in pre-COVID-19 purchase. However, the fact that the lists were browsed longer and in more detail, and that the respondents saw more products, didn't lead to increased purchases. Purchase interest stays on more or less same level with slight decrease in some categories like chocolate and cereals. Still, leading brands remain the same among the tested categories.
And what can you share about what has shifted with regard to the PDP pages? How did the individual categories we tested change?
Well, first off, they're browsed for a longer time, just like product list pages. And the differences is notable. Product detail pages are explored for almost 20 seconds longer during the COVID-19 crisis. And the respondents also scroll through the page much deeper, ensuring that a greater portion of the page is actually seen. Nearly 60% of shoppers reach the page end compared to usual 5% who did in our other tests. And this results in twice as many areas seen on a PDP compared to usual pre-COVID browsing. The areas above the fold, product image, product name, price, short description, add to cart, they remain most visible and among most useful in reaching a purchase decision. But it's interesting that some other areas are gaining in importance for shopper, primarily suggested products and customer reviews. Obviously, the consumers are more attentive now and want to make sure that they're adequately informed, that they don't miss something relevant, that make sure that they made the right choice, which is why a greater number of them explores these page sections and they do it more thoroughly as well. When it comes to different categories, there are a couple of interesting changes as well. All category pages were browsed longer, with coffee and cleaning products keeping the same purchase intent and chocolates and cereals having a somewhat decreased number of considered products. However, what I find interesting are the qual-like trends and insights we were able to pick up with this. For example, we saw that some lesser-known brands that provide value at a lower price were taken into consideration for both cereal and coffee categories. Additionally, increased interest for healthy cereal products and greener packaging options for coffee. This is indicative of wider trends going on in society, such as growing concern for the environment and sustainability. On the other hand, sanitizing properties and convenience of use ruled our choices when it comes to cleaning products. Value packs, family, and variety packs that offer a bigger assortment of products at a competitive price in the chocolate category, they find choices there. So those are two tendencies that were clearly influenced by the ongoing crisis. So let's take a look at the cereal category for a second, where we saw a tilt towards healthier varieties of cereals. A segment of shoppers now shows a higher preference for natural products, so items emphasizing natural ingredients in the name and on the pack triggered interest. We saw 2 percentage points increase in shoppers' interest here. Several lesser-known brands with these types of products benefited from this change in consumers' behavior, finding their way to the basket, and this is a great opportunity for challenger brands. Additionally, some shoppers are trying to make smart choices, opting for larger packaging and combo packs at more affordable prices. We see also here 2 percentage points increase. Like we saw in the overview table, purchase interest remains stable for the cleaning supply category. Still, we notice some changes in the consumer basket. Products that clearly communicate the ability to sanitize surfaces and tackle germs have greater attention and somewhat higher chance to be considered by shoppers. 2 percentage points increase here. And a certain number of shoppers have shown a stronger preference towards wipes and sprays, presumably because this format is more convenient for frequent usage on a daily basis. Browsing for coffee usually means buying one specific favorite brand that is used regularly, but some less chosen brands now have a higher chance to be found in the shopper's basket, offering the same type and amount of coffee as market leaders, but at a lower price, which we see through a 3 percentage points increase in basket share. It seems that type of container starts to become important also. As ground coffee remains the most chosen type of coffee on the PLP, the way it is packaged can affect individual purchasing decisions. There's a slight preference for ground coffee in bags as opposed to plastic canisters. I believe there are two possible hypotheses for this trend. Consumers are becoming more and more aware of global pollution and try to go for greener options. And the other assumption, which doesn't exclude the first one, is that they question the impact of plastic on the coffee shelf life as they stock up for sheltering in place. And lastly, chocolate, an interesting category. The overall category shopping appears unaffected by the crisis. But for some shoppers, packs containing a lot of candies, bars at an affordable price are becoming the first choice. Furthermore, products that accentuate the value size and the exact amount of items in the pack have higher chance to be selected. 2 percentage points increase in basket share, especially if that amount is notably higher than what competing brands are offering.
Well, thank you, Mila. That was so informative and enlightening about all the things that are changing in the way people's e-commerce shopping is evolving during this crisis. I wonder if it would be useful to also have a sense of what is the browsing behavior on e-commerce sites more typically. Can you share how things work in a general sense with e-commerce browsing?
Of course. I mean, online grocery buyers typically spend between 15 and 20 seconds per product list page. They usually see on average 8 to 12 products, and they browse the products only up to 1.5 seconds. And having this in mind, you need to help customers differentiate between the critical elements of the pack shot to minimize mistakes and obviously increase sales. Our studies have shown that when searching for a particular SKU, up to 70% of shoppers pick the wrong one because they're just overwhelmed with elements and options. And while some product attributes are quite easy to grasp on the page, like brand, some are much more difficult. Anyone who has ever tried to differentiate between 250 milliliters from a 400 milliliters bottle of shampoo solely based on their identical online pack shots would know it is nearly impossible.
So, Mila, are there any things you could suggest to manufacturers about how they could optimize their e-commerce assets to help overcome some of these challenges?
Well, for sure. I mean, there are many things you can do, ranging from the ads on the PLP, which we know significantly increase the chances of buying the SKU if the SKU on the product is shown in the ad and is also available on the list. Ads work positively for product lists in general. PLPs with ads are browsed 20% longer. Online shoppers see 10% more products overall, and as a result, there is a 14% increase in product purchase interest. Further, you can think about how your product detail page is organized and which info you choose to include in it. However, one key thing is getting noticed on the jam-packed, highly competitive product list page. And to do that, you need to make it easy for the consumers to spot you and also to get the key information at a glance. One of the ways brands do that is by adjusting their pack shots. A while ago, we ran a study on optimizing product shot images, and we saw that hero images have 5% higher visibility than standard package designs on desktop, with even more significant potential on mobile because of the smaller screen size. And they can increase sales by about 15%. We also found that hero image designs perform better in comparison to standard pack shots across most categories regarding visibility, shopper's interest, or product type. So I would say we need to streamline everything as much as possible, keeping in mind what the actual dynamic browsing looks like and just how much info there is on both PLPs and PDPs.
At this point, I imagine many in our audience are thinking about how they need to manage their e-commerce opportunities. Mila, can you provide a framework for e-commerce testing? Where should people start if they're thinking about setting one up?
Well, Jonathan, that's an excellent question. There are so many moving parts to e-commerce testing that it can be quite hard for both researchers and stakeholders to take the plunge. And that's why we tried to build a pyramid describing different levels of studies and to structure the research questions for more effective research. Level 1, online shopper strategy, including motivations and full journeys. Level 2, online shopper behavior for specific websites, like how the shoppers navigate the site, which pages are visited, and what are the key shopper marketing assets. And level 3, tactical impact studies for optimized shopper marketing assets that apply for most websites. What are the best practices for the shopper marketing assets, like online package design, to maximize the impact on purchase decisions? Typically, those 3 levels demand a different research methodology framework. Surveys will be sufficient for level 1, when you have online shopper strategy that cover who visited what site, why. If we take a look at the table below, we will see the different stages of the journey and 3 different facets we can test. On the other hand, for levels 2 and 3, shopper behavior on specific website and tactical impact studies, we need to have a survey combined with behavioral methods. Furthermore, the level 3 study requires a design experiment. For example, ABC test of package design, different PDP layouts, or ads to understand the impact of the variable on sales uplift. This is the kind of study design like we just discussed today. Here we have an example of 3 cells of respondents that were all shown the same product with a different hero image style. We already mentioned hero images, and here you can see 2 different variants that we would test in this type of study. There are multiple design routes for optimizing online package shots. Unilever and the University of Cambridge developed a variant that helps to recognize 4 key elements: brand, variant, format, and size. That's the Cambridge hero image. On the other hand, you have options that put more emphasis on the emotional elements of the product, like the spotlight hero image. Now, to wrap up, what I would suggest to everyone is first to go ahead and pick the level of your study. Is it online strategy, shopper behavior, or tactical impact studies? To do this, there are 2 different approaches: top-bottom, strategy to tactical, or bottom-up, that is making sure your ads, product image, and PDP work first. And although it might sound logical to follow a top-down strategy, in fact, the bottom-up approach might be the best. Even more so in turbulent situations like this, as you will have quick wins that demonstrate impact to your stakeholders, and these studies are the easiest. Certain marketing assets are essential on all sites, like online package design, so you don't need to have the higher level studies for information on this. And investing this way will ensure you get results faster and provide you with leverage to dig even deeper into strategic questions. Secondly, depending on the research level you pick, combine the right conventional and behavioral methods. The complementary mixed method approach will provide you with 30% higher predictive insights and, more importantly, understanding of the full picture. And lastly, I would say you need to pick an appropriate specific retail website to test on, and make sure to test in context. Being able to expose respondents to testing environments that are visually and functionally the closest to the actual retailer website ensures a higher correlation with real purchase behavior. So pick a retailer you want to run this test on and let the respondents have a natural interaction with it, just to make sure you have the most accurate feedback you can have.
That's fantastic. Thanks for breaking it down for us. I believe it's much clearer now for everyone about the next steps and how they can assess their e-commerce performance. I'd like to ask you for a final thought to summarize everything we've spoken about today. Are people acting differently? And how is that affecting e-commerce consumer research?
I think, Jonathan, we can say without doubt that consumers are more alert, attentive, and dedicate more time to online shopping than they did before. And it is essential for brands now more than ever to optimize all parts of their e-commerce presentation, even if they have no experience with e-commerce testing. Depending on their goals, they should choose the level of their study and not waste time on trying to answer multiple research questions at once, but find an impactful area and improve that first. And finally, test everything in the appropriate context. The respondents should feel as if they're really shopping during the test.
Thank you, Mila. And thanks to all of you who tuned in today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us via email or social media, and we'll make sure to help you craft the best approach for the evolving field of e-commerce optimization. Stay safe and stay tuned for more webinars on consumer behavior during a time of crisis.